Hey, this is Rich over at TVP Live with another quick tips tutorials brought to you by Adobe Photoshop Elements Tutorials Group. And let's jump right in with today's poster. I want us to know how to extract hair out of this photo. Now, extracting hair is different from extracting bodies and shirts and caps because these, as you can see when we zoom in, they're semi-hard lined, and obviously it's a photograph. No photograph has a really hard line. You can see it's actually pretty soft edged. But when we get to the hair, we can actually see what's behind there. There's a garage door and there's glass, and this is going to be a little bit harder to do because how do you cut that all out? Some people have suggested to use the polygon tool. The problem with this polygon tool is as we try to cut it out like that with a polygon, and I'm going to choose delete, and what you can see here is a really hard lined edge that does not look natural at all. And there's portions of white in there from the background that you can see, and that's just simply not very convincing. So what we're going to do is erase this by hand using the eraser and a soft brush. So you come down here to the brushes. Instead of a hard brush, let's use a soft brush and something like 27. You see that? It's a small soft brush. And we're going to start where the hairline starts and kind of go along jaggedy like that, and you can see this way deletes a lot more of that white on the edge. And it's okay if you cut a little bit of the hair out, because what the audience doesn't know is missing, they'll never know. And we'll come on over here and we'll go ahead and erase this portion too. Now when we get to the cap or any other hard surface, let's take that same soft eraser and bring it back down to, like, I don't know, 9 point, which is a much smaller eraser. And once again, we want to erase a little bit into the object so that we don't capture any of the fuzzy lines, and we're actually making it much more sharper than it was before. And here I'm doing click, holding the shift, and click, holding the shift, and click, holding the shift, and that allows us to draw a series of straight lines. Or you can just do it by hand. Then we'll come back down here to the shoulder line and continue the erasing. Once we finish erasing out all the edge, then we want to cut out what we don't want. So we'll take the polygon tool and make sure it's the polygon, not the lasso. And this way we can just zoom in and start cutting out what we don't want. So I'll start down here and basically use the polygon and draw by clicking a series of lines within the portions that I erased, making sure not to touch either the inside or the outside. And once we get towards the end here, we'll just come on up to the upper left portion, then over to the upper right portion, come back down where the beginning of the polygon started. I'll double click, and that'll give us the marching ants throughout the whole piece. Zoom out again and hit delete. Boom, and there we go. We got us a nice image, but we want to see what it really looks like. So I'm going to add a background, and that's a new layer. Choose a color of pure black, hit OK, get the paint bucket and paint it in. So now we can really see what's going on. You see that white that's left over, and that's going to be something that we have to take care of. So I'm going to do is add a new layer above our subject. And on that new layer, we're going to add a little bit of tinting. So I'm going to grab the eyedropper tool and try to pick something that's in between the very darkest point and the very lightest point. So maybe right around here. That looks good. And we can pick the brush tool and let's see what size it is. Let's go ahead and make it like 100 point soft brush. That looks pretty good. And we're just going to paint this in. And it's okay if we spill over a little bit because we can clean it up afterwards. Now what I'm going to do is take that layer and bring it down to about 50%, and then take the eraser again, and let's do like a 25 point eraser and carefully erase out what we don't want. Once we've painted those portions back out, let's go ahead and turn off our main subject so we can see just the matte that we created, but we can't see it because the color's wrong. So let's change this black to white. like so. Turn on our image, and there we go. And now's a good time to go ahead and make a black background so we can see both light and dark backgrounds. And now we can choose our matte that we created, and let's bring that down to about 50%. Let's bring it back up a little bit and bring it back up to about 65% or so. And here's before and after. And that's basically how to do that. How does it look under a white background? We'll turn that off, turn on the white background, and now we can bring that 65% back down. Because it's a white background, we don't need as much of the matte that we created. So this looks good right around there at 33%. And that's pretty much it. Here's before and after. Before and after. This looks a lot more realistic than using just the polygon alone. Well, this is Rich for this tutorial, calling it quits, saying over and out.